We're going to answer this question here. It's taken from VCAA 2011, Paper 1, Question 8. Consider the following matrix A. Here it is. A is equal to its inverse for a particular value of k. This value of k is which of the following? So what is this question saying to us? It's telling us that the inverse of A is equal to A. Well, what's A equal to? 3k, -4, -3. So I need to find what is the value of k? What is the value of k such that the inverse of A is equal to A? I'm going to show you two ways of approaching this question. The first way is the quick way, and it's using your CAS. So you would come over here, you'd come here, you'd come here, and you'd type in what A is. So A is 3k, -4, and -3. You then, sorry, that's not a -3, -3. You then want to find the inverse of that. So let's find the inverse. So remember, you raise it to the -1. We hit enter, and there is the inverse. Now, it looks horrific, doesn't it? What we want to do is find the value of k such that it is equal to A, the matrix A. Well, what that means is if I took this first element here, so let me write it down. Let me write down this first element here. It is -3 over 4k minus 9. What would this have to be equal to in order for the inverse of A to be equal to A? Well, it has to be equal to the corresponding element. It would have to be equal to 3. So what I would do is I would come here and I would go, all right, menu 3, 1. I want to solve for when this is equal to 3 for the k value. And the answer is 2, which means my answer is D. Now, you could have done that for any of these elements. So for instance, let's say I wanted to do this one instead. So if I chose this bottom right element, that's saying that 3 on 4k minus 9 is equal to, now, what would this element have to be equal to if A is equal to the inverse of A? Well, it's going to have to be equal to -3. -3. So if I now go here and I go menu 3, 1 to solve, and I take this one and I set it equal to -3 and I solve it for k, what is my k going to be equal to? My k is equal to 2. And I could have done that also for this one right here. I could have set that equal to -4 and solved it for k. So let me show you that again. So this is probably overkill, but why not? 4k minus 9 is equal to -4. So if I come here and I do that and I go menu 3, 1, I take this, I set it equal to -4, I solve it for k, I'm going to end up with k is equal to 2. That's what you're doing here. If you're in an exam situation, I actually think this is the only way you would approach it. You could, of course, do it by hand. But if you were to do it by hand, it would obviously take quite a bit of time because you'd have to find the determinant. And then what, are you going to solve it by hand as well? That's going to take a bit of time. I think you're just better off just using your CAS here. And if you're using your CAS efficiently, you can get your answer. A bit of a tricky question here. Hopefully you found this understandable. Looking at the examiner's report here, this was question 8. You can see that 50% of the state got this one correct. So you just need to make sure that you reach out to me if you think this one is a bit tricky and we can have a chat about it. But that is how you would approach this question.